Welcome back to Health Corner. I'm Joan Lunden. Now, many people think of epilepsy as a condition that starts in childhood, but did you know that it can develop anytime? Here's Health Corner correspondent Sara Welch with more. Hi, Sara.
Hi, Joan. The stigma surrounding epilepsy has changed a lot throughout the years, and with medication and treatment, there is hope for even the most severe cases. 5-year-old Ciara O'Driscoll loves playing with brother Aiden. By looking at her, you'd never know at any moment she might have a seizure.
The doctors were trying to identify the cause. When she was 11 months old, we found out it was a genetic form of epilepsy called Dravet Syndrome.
The rare disease began slowing Ciara's development, and by the age of 2, she was having more than 100 seizures a day. Ciara wore a helmet to protect her from getting hurt.
So she'd be sitting and playing, and whack! It was out of nowhere, as if someone came behind her and slammed her head down.
Ciara was seizure-free the day we met her at her home in Connecticut, but her parents showed us video of her having one. It's difficult to watch. You can see how Ciara jerks uncontrollably. Like other children, hospital visits and brain monitoring have been part of Ciara's life, and so have been the countless questions and stares from people who don't know what's wrong.
I can remember people coming up to me saying, "What's wrong with your kid?" I think people should not be afraid of those who have seizures, and certainly don't be afraid to help them.
Some 3 million Americans are living with some form of epilepsy. Robert Fiore takes several medications every day to keep his seizures under control.
I've had epilepsy since birth, but it was discovered when I was 9 months old.
There were times when the seizures were so frequent, Bob couldn't drive or work.
I never knew I was going to have a seizure. It'd be after the seizure that I'd wake up in the hospital, I'd look around and I'd look on the floor and say, how'd that get there? Or I'd be in a room full of people and I'd look around and say, okay, what happened?
This is a graphic representation of a patient having a seizure.
Dr. Kenneth Vives studies the brain disorder. He's an associate professor of neurosurgery at Yale.
In epilepsy, there's an abnormal discharge that occurs of these neurons, and there are too many of the neurons all kind of doing the same thing at the wrong time, and it interrupts the normal function of the brain.
Stress, trauma, or high fever can trigger a seizure, but in many cases, the root cause of epilepsy is still a mystery.
In fact, many children initially, when they're having their seizures, it's felt that this is some type of behavioral abnormality or that the patient might have a psychiatric disorder. And it's only after really interviewing a patient and ultimately recording their seizures from their scalp that it's truly understood that this is a form of epilepsy.
Medications help 80% of people with epilepsy go about their lives. But in more drastic cases like Bob's, when medication isn't enough, surgery is an option.
So if we can identify an area of the brain that the seizures are coming from, and we find that that area of the brain does not carry out critical functions, then we would offer a resection of that area of the brain.
The surgery changed Bob's life. He can drive again, and he's been seizure-free now for almost 3 years.
My life is so much better because now I'm able to do more things. I wake up every day with a very positive attitude. I don't have to worry, like, what's going to happen today? How many seizures could I possibly have today?
I did it, Mom.
For the O'Driscolls, medication and a strict ketogenic diet are making a huge difference. The diet consists mainly of high-fat foods that have to be carefully measured.
The diet for us was a miracle, and it gave Ciara her quality of life back. She was able to take the helmet off. Within about a month, she had relearned how to walk again. But more importantly for us, she started developing language. Prior to the diet, she only had about 3 words. Do you know where it went?
No.
Children with Dravet Syndrome will not outgrow this rare form of epilepsy. Ciara, though, is defying the odds.
I also have a hope because I have a child living with a severe form of epilepsy who's happy.
Lori O'Driscoll is devoted to raising money for research through the Dravet Syndrome Foundation, while providing support for other families also dealing with this seizure disorder. Bob Fiore is also constantly on his website interacting with others, generating awareness and correcting misconceptions about a disease that many people don't fully understand. He knows a stigma still exists.
It's never going to go away, unfortunately, but the stigma is there, but not as bad as it was, in decades prior to this.
Fiore recently joined thousands of others in Washington, D.C. at the annual National Walk for Epilepsy. For Bob, the show of support is symbolic.
Come forth, learn about it, speak to your doctor, find a good neurologist, interact with other people that have epilepsy, and get the word from them.
If you see a person having a seizure, it's important to stay calm. And one tip, if the person is seated, help them to the ground so they can be safe until the seizure passes. Joan, back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. And to learn more about epilepsy, go to our website, healthcornertv.com.